Imagine this. You just had an argument. You walk away, frustrated, replaying every word in your head, wishing you had said something different. You got emotional, lost control, and let the other person walk away thinking they won. But what if next time you could turn the tables? Most people think arguments are won by talking louder, being more aggressive, or proving a point. But the truth is, the person who wins isn't always the one who's right. It's the one who stays in control. Marcus Aurelius understood this better than anyone. As a Roman emperor, he faced relentless opposition, political rivals, betrayals, and high-stakes conflicts. But no matter how intense the pressure, he never let emotions dictate his actions. He mastered the psychology of control. And today, we're breaking down 7 psychological tactics, rooted in Stoic wisdom, that will make you unshakable in any argument. Once you understand these principles, you'll never lose control again. Let's begin. Marcus Aurelius wasn't just a Roman emperor, he was a master of self-control. In the chaos of ancient Rome, he faced betrayal, opposition, and high-stakes debates, where every word had the power to shift history. Yet, no matter how intense the conflict, he never let emotions dictate his actions. Because winning an argument isn't about being right. It's about staying in control. Most people think arguments are won with logic and loud voices, but in reality, they're won by psychology. The person who dictates the emotional tone and steers the conversation always has the advantage. That's exactly what we're diving into today. 7 powerful psychological tactics inspired by Stoic wisdom that will make you unshakable in any argument. These aren't just debate tricks, they are mindset shifts that will change the way you communicate, handle conflict, and take control in any situation. But before we dive in, let's make a deal. If you've ever walked away from an argument frustrated, hit that like button right now. And if you've ever wished you handled a debate better, drop it in the comments. I'll be reading every one. Now, let's get into tactic number 1. Controlling what you can control. Tactic 1. Control what you can control. Marcus Aurelius's principle. One of the most powerful Stoic principles is this. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius understood that no one could make him angry, frustrated, or reactive unless he allowed them to. In any argument, emotions are your greatest enemy. The moment you get defensive, raise your voice, or let frustration take over, you're no longer in control. And the worst part, the other person now has the power. They've successfully pulled you into their game. You can't control what they say or how they feel, but you can control how you respond, and that's where real power is. How to apply this in an argument? Pause before responding. When someone tries to provoke you, don't react instantly. Take a breath, hold the silence. This forces them to wonder what you're thinking and shifts the control back to you. Detach from insults. If someone attacks you personally, remind yourself, their words are a reflection of them, not me. Don't engage emotionally. Stay above it. Reframe the situation. Instead of thinking, they're disrespecting me, reframe it as, this is a test of my discipline. Treat every argument as an opportunity to master yourself. The moment you refuse to react emotionally, the game changes. Because when you stay calm while they lose control, you've already won. But what if I told you that sometimes the best move is to say nothing? There's a technique so powerful it forces your opponent to reveal their weaknesses without you uttering a single word. That's tactic number 2, the power of silence. Tactic 2, the power of silence, control without speaking. Most people believe that arguments are won by talking more, proving their point over and over again. But the truth is, the more you speak, the more you reveal. The more you argue, the more emotional you become. And emotions are a weakness. The most powerful people in any conversation aren't the ones who talk the most. They're the ones who know when to stay silent. Silence is uncomfortable. It creates tension. And in an argument, that tension forces your opponent to keep talking, to over-explain, to justify, or even to contradict themselves. A well-timed pause makes them feel uncertain, exposed, and in many cases, frustrated. How to apply this in an argument? Don't rush to respond. If someone attacks you verbally, resist the urge to reply instantly. Instead, pause. Hold eye contact. Let the weight of the silence sink in. Use silence to make them uneasy. If they're expecting a reaction, but you give them nothing, they'll start to question their own words. Many times, they'll fill the silence by backtracking or softening their stance. Make your words count. When you finally do speak, keep it short and powerful. Instead of arguing back, respond with a single pointed question. Is that what you really think? Or, why does this matter so much to you? This forces them to explain themselves further, often revealing weaknesses in their argument. The key is this: silence makes people uncomfortable, and the one who can control that discomfort controls the conversation. But silence isn't just about making the other person uneasy. It's also about keeping yourself calm and in control. And that leads us to tactic number 3, reframing the attack. Tactic 3, reframing, turning attacks into your advantage. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you that harms you, but how you interpret it." This principle is crucial in arguments because the way you frame a situation determines how much power it holds over you. Most people take insults personally. They react emotionally, feel offended, and let the other person dictate the terms of the argument. But a Stoic knows that words only have power if you give them power. Instead of fighting back, they reframe the attack, stripping it of its emotional weight and putting control back in their hands. Reframing is about shifting perspective. When someone insults you or makes an accusation, instead of defending yourself, make them explain themselves. This instantly weakens their position. How to apply this in an argument? Turn an insult into a question. If someone says, "You're so ignorant you don't understand anything," instead of reacting, simply ask, "Why do you think that?" This forces them to justify their claim, which often exposes flaws in their reasoning. Detach from their emotional intent. If they try to provoke you, don't give them the reaction they want. Stay calm. Respond with curiosity, not emotion. The moment they realize they can't shake you, their attack loses power. Use humor or neutrality. If someone says, "You'll never succeed," you can reframe it with a calm, neutral response. "That's interesting. What makes you say that?" This disarms aggression and shifts the pressure back onto them. The key is to remember, it's not their words that matter, but how you choose to interpret them. When you master reframing, no insult can shake you, because you'll always be the one in control. But there's another technique that makes you even more persuasive, one that subtly shifts the entire power dynamic in your favor. Let's move on to tactic number 4, mirroring. Tactic 4, mirroring, reflecting the opponent's emotions to gain control. Most people don't truly listen in arguments, they just wait for their turn to speak. This makes the other person feel unheard and escalates the conflict. But mirroring can instantly diffuse tension and shift the dynamic from confrontation to connection. Psychologists call this the chameleon effect. When people feel heard, they naturally lower their defenses and become more open to reason. How to apply this in an argument? Reflect their words neutrally. If they say, "You never listen," respond, "So you feel like I haven't really understood your point." This makes them feel acknowledged and less combative. Match their emotional intensity subtly. If they say, "This is unfair," respond, "It sounds like you feel this situation isn't fair. What would make it better?" This validates their emotions without escalating tension. Use mirroring to regain control. When they feel heard, they stop attacking. This allows you to steer the conversation in a more productive direction. Mirroring isn't about agreeing, it's about disarming. But sometimes, even mirroring isn't enough. You need to completely stop the argument's momentum. That's where tactic number 5, the Stoic pause, comes in. Tactic 5, the Stoic pause, mastering the art of delayed response. Seneca once said, "Anger is like fire, it burns brightly, but if you don't feed it, it will die out on its own." The biggest mistake people make in arguments is reacting too quickly. They hear something offensive, and before they even process it, they fire back emotionally. But the Stoics understood that true strength lies in delayed response, in taking a moment to pause before reacting. When you pause, even for just a few seconds, you accomplish 3 powerful things. You break the emotional momentum. Arguments spiral because one reaction triggers another. But when you pause, you disrupt this cycle, forcing the conversation to slow down. You project confidence and control. Quick, emotional reactions signal weakness. A controlled pause signals power. You make the other person uncomfortable. When you don't respond immediately, they start second-guessing themselves. Silence makes them wonder what you're thinking. How to apply this in an argument? Pause before answering. If someone throws an accusation at you, resist the urge to fire back. Instead, take a slow breath, count to 3 in your head, and then respond. This makes you seem measured and composed. Use the pause to observe. While you remain silent, watch their body language. Are they getting frustrated? Are they looking for validation? Use this pause to read the situation before you reply. Make the pause work in your favor. If they ask an aggressive question like, "Why don't you ever listen?" Instead of snapping back, pause for a moment, look them in the eye, and then say, "What makes you feel that way?" That brief moment of silence makes them rethink their aggression. The Stoic pause is a psychological weapon. It neutralizes emotional attacks, makes you appear unshakable, and forces your opponent to face their own words. But what if you could not only stay calm, but actually turn the conversation against them? That's where tactic number 6, questioning over arguing, comes in. Tactic 6, questioning over arguing. Let them defeat themselves. Most people approach arguments like a battle. They push their opinions, try to dominate, and aggressively prove their point. But here's the truth. The more you argue, the more resistance you create. Instead of trying to force someone to agree with you, the smarter strategy is to make them rethink their own stance. And the best way to do that? Ask the right questions. When you ask instead of argue, you shift the burden onto them. You make them explain their reasoning, and in many cases, they'll realize the flaws in their own logic without you having to do anything. How to apply this in an argument? Replace direct rebuttals with questions. Instead of saying "you're wrong," ask, "Is there another way to look at this?" This forces them to reconsider without feeling attacked. Use Socratic questioning. Ask open-ended questions that lead them to challenge their own assumptions. Instead of saying, "That won't work," ask, "What would happen if we tried a different approach?" This makes them evaluate their own argument rather than defend it. Make them prove their own point. If someone makes a bold claim, don't argue, just ask, what evidence supports that? Or, how did you come to that conclusion? Many times they won't have a solid answer, exposing the weakness in their argument. The key here is to remain neutral and calm. If they feel attacked, they'll dig in deeper. But if you simply ask the right questions, they will start questioning themselves. By using this tactic, you'll no longer waste energy in pointless arguments. You'll guide the conversation without confrontation. But sometimes, even the best tactics won't change someone's mind. That's why knowing when to walk away is just as powerful. Let's move on to Tactic 7, the exit strategy. Tactic 7, the exit strategy. Knowing when to walk away. Not every argument is worth winning. In fact, sometimes the most powerful move is to step away, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. The Stoics understood that control isn't about forcing others to agree with you, it's about knowing where to invest your energy. If a discussion is going nowhere, if the other person is too emotional to listen, or if the argument is based purely on ego, continuing to engage is a waste of time. Real power lies in knowing when to disengage. How to apply this in an argument? Recognize when logic no longer matters. If the other person is stuck in their beliefs, repeating the same points, or arguing emotionally, continuing the debate will achieve nothing. That's your cue to step back. Exit with respect, not aggression. Instead of storming off or shutting down, say something like, "I see that we have different perspectives on this. I respect your opinion, even if I don't agree." This closes the conversation on your terms, not theirs. Know that silence is sometimes the best response. If someone is arguing just to provoke you, your best move is no move at all. Simply walking away without reaction sends the message that their words have no power over you. The moment you master when to engage and when to walk away, you become untouchable. Because real strength isn't about proving a point, it's about never letting others control your mind. And now, let's bring everything together in the final takeaway. We've covered 7 powerful psychological tactics that will help you stay in control in any argument. 1. Control what you can control. Your reaction is your greatest weapon. Stay calm, and you hold the power. The power of silence. Use pauses to make the other person uneasy and force them to reveal their weaknesses. 3. Reframing. Turn personal attacks into questions that disarm and redirect the conversation. 4. Mirroring. Reflect their words and emotions to make them feel heard and lower their defenses. 5. The Stoic pause. Delay your response to break emotional momentum and project confidence. 6. Questioning over arguing. Lead them to question their own beliefs instead of trying to prove them wrong. 7. The exit strategy. Know when to walk away. True power is knowing where to invest your energy. The goal of Stoic thinking isn't to win every argument, it's to win control over yourself. Because when you're in control, no one can manipulate, provoke, or shake you. Arguments stop being battles, and instead, they become a test of your discipline. Now it's time to put these tactics into action. The next time you find yourself in an argument, pause, apply what you've learned, and see how the entire dynamic shifts in your favor. Now, here's your challenge. Next time you're in an argument, apply just one of these strategies. Watch how the dynamic shifts. And if you want the ultimate advantage, the next video reveals the Stoic techniques that completely change how you handle power and influence. Click it now before you forget.